We're going to turn our spotlight now to the letting scene in Milton Keynes, and I'm delighted to be joined by Davinia Taylor, who's the franchise owner of Northwood here in MK. And Davinia, as a landlord, I'm always looking at location primarily, and it strikes me Milton Keynes is extremely well located from an investment point of view because of proximity to London, transport links, and very centrally located.
Absolutely. It's deemed to be one of the property hotspots in the UK. Great, vibrant rental market, lots of stock, lots of landlords, lots of investors looking to come into the area. Often get calls from landlords living in London, North, all over the country. They see Milton Keynes as a growing place. And absolutely, lots of businesses coming here, so very, very buoyant rental market.
Now, what is currently hot in Milton Keynes? Do you have a shortage of any particular property type? Are flats less popular than houses for tenants?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, flats, we tend to say, as an agent, perhaps to avoid them simply because there's a bit of an oversupply issue. Lots of flats being purchased by investors, and at the end of the day, there are a limited number of occupants who want flats. We would always say, good old houses, 2-3 bedroom houses, steer clear of larger properties, 4 or 5 bed houses. There is a demand, but not a massive demand. Most people looking at that level would potentially be owners rather than renters, so that's more of the kind of executive market, so pretty limited. But your average 2-3 bedroom property, to be honest, that's exactly where we'd advise that you put your money.
Okay. And obviously, if we drill down into Milton Keynes, it will vary from street to street as to where you feel the best investment areas are. Are there any sort of key hotspots within Milton Keynes where you think there's good opportunity for investors?
Absolutely. We generally say to our landlords looking to invest, look at areas where there's, good schooling. Good schooling, you talk about transport links already, but I think schools are key really. Most of the good areas, it is all about, what those areas offer in terms of facility. Bearing in mind we're mostly looking at families who are renting. There is a professional market, so access to central Milton Keynes, the train station, that's important. But a lot of the areas directly surrounding central Milton Keynes may not be the most desirable areas. So contrary to potentially popular belief is that actually those areas are the areas to go to. We might say move out slightly further afield. Milton Keynes is a great place to travel around. It's not difficult to get from A to B. To get from one side to the other, it's a 15-minute journey maximum. So free flowing traffic. So we just say good areas with good facilities. And we can always offer advice if landlords are unsure as to where to purchase.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's something that landlords don't really appreciate, that lettings agents are actually very happy to give advice about where there is the best demand, because obviously you want to start the conversation with the landlord with a view to managing their property for them.
Absolutely. We've recently helped a landlord who had no idea where to invest, what to invest in. He was new to the industry, and to be honest with you, I must have spent 5-6 hours just advising him, not in one go obviously, but just continuous advice. I gave him advice on where to invest, what sort of property to invest in. He then went away and shortlisted, and then I basically said come back with a handful of properties and I'll tell you immediately within minutes which one of those 5 properties to invest in, because it's what we do. He had no idea, he couldn't see the pros and cons of any of them. He shortlisted 5 but had no idea which one, and within a minute we said that one for that reason. He went along and purchased it and is coming back to us for management. So, that's exactly what we do, and absolutely no issues. I mean, I even offer to go out and view properties with the estate agents. The landlords don't need to be present. It's in our interest to make sure they're investing in the right property, and I'd rather that than they come to me having invested something in the wrong area, and ultimately we're saying to them, look, we can't offer you the levels of rent guarantee that you'd like because the risk is high. So it's all in the groundwork, and we're happy to do that free of charge.
You mentioned the guaranteed rent scheme, which of course Northwood is very famous for, market leading, nearly 2 decades now in existence. Is the guaranteed rent scheme service popular with landlords in Milton Keynes?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that we guarantee against voids and arrears, is great. Voids is perceived to be a much lower risk now to landlords, and I would say that's true. We're in a very, very buoyant area, huge tenant demand, so the risk of voids is nothing like it was back in 2008. In 2008, in 1 month we had £8,500 worth of voids. That's voids alone. that risk is no longer the same. But at the end of the day, it is still a risk. I think that continuous income and the fact that a landlord knows no matter what happens, on the 5th of the month I'm going to get my money, there's a lot to be said for that. And there are a lot of landlords out there that, they just do not want the fuss and aggravation of every month, am I going to get my rent? And ultimately, those landlords, the scheme is perfect for them. So we're 15 years of trading in Milton Keynes, one of the first independently owned franchises within the network. And I think the longevity of our business just demonstrates how successful the brand is.
Absolutely. So in summary then, the rental scene here at Milton Keynes, very vibrant, but of course, again, due diligence is key, and do speak to local lettings agents about, the best places to invest, because it is easy to fall into a pitfall, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as we've said earlier, it's all about the groundwork and the work that you put in up front. And we're more than happy to offer advice on that. So take the advice that's free.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on Property Tribes TV. Thank you, Davinia.